Hi everyone, so in this video what I'd like to talk about are 5 things that can affect communication in your relationship. So communication is in the top 3 reasons that people go for couples counselling. It's also probably in the top 5 reasons that couples end up breaking up in their relationship. And that's because communication is key. Even if you ask like most couples or most individuals what they would see as a key ingredient for a relationship, they're going to say communication. And that's because if you can't communicate effectively with the person you're in a relationship with, then there's going to be issues. So these are 5 things that can affect that communication. It can things that can get in the way or things that can cause like issues. So number 1 is hormones or moods. If someone has either got a mood disorder or some form of depression, or they're hormonal, and that could be because it's the time of the month, or it could be they're taking certain medication. It could be lots of reasons that are affecting their body, even physical issues that someone has or health issues. This can affect communication because it can mean that if you don't time it properly when you're communicating with that person, or if that person sometimes just doesn't want to talk, if there's no way of acknowledging that, then there's going to be a problem. Because imagine, I've made a video by the way called being in a relationship with someone with depression that sort of touches on this a little bit. When someone is going through their own things, then it's very difficult sometimes for them to step outside of that and say, well, I need to do this to inform my partner, I need to let them know. You just don't really want to communicate with someone. Now if you're in a relationship with someone and they're constantly in low moods, and that means they lash out at you, or it's their time of the month, or if they're hormonal, they're just completely different, but you've never really discussed it as a couple, then it's going to cause a problem. And the issue, I say to that, really, the solution, is talk about it before it happens. Sit down as a couple and say, you know, when during my time of the month or the lead up to my time of the month, I'm usually quite a lot more moody. So what I'll do is I'll let you know that that's the situation, so that you don't think it's personal to you, so that we don't get into these arguments. Or, do you know, when I don't take my medication, or when I'm sometimes starting a course of new medication for my depression, it can sometimes affect my mood and I don't know how I'm going to be, or sometimes I want to be left alone when I'm feeling depressed. So have a plan in place, talk about it, don't allow it to sort of overwhelm the relationship. Number 2 is timing, and I've also made another video about this, which is about 5 wrong times to have a conversation in your relationship or a serious talk. When you talk, you have to think about the fact that there's a lot of things that go into conversations. There's body language, there's receiving the information, there's clarifying the information, how you share it, what you say, how you say it, tone of voice, all of this. Do you move your head all over the place? Do you use hand gestures? How loud you are, how far you are from the person. Too many things come into it, but timing is a key thing. If you don't learn to be in sync with your partner in terms of timing, then there's going to be issues. You need to recognise that there's probably times where your partner, last thing at night, they probably don't want to have a heavy conversation, but at the same time you might feel that that's when you need to talk, because otherwise you're not going to sleep. So when you get to a point where you both are not on the same page, you need to come to some sort of compromise. Okay, I feel that I need to have this conversation because otherwise I'll go to bed worrying about it. But it's 12 o'clock at night, my partner's just come in from doing a late shift, and if I keep them up talking about this, they're going to be angry in the morning, or they're going to not engage properly. What's the compromise? Think about the key thing you have to say, you must say, or the key thing you must discuss, and put a time limit on it. You might say to your partner, I know it's really late and I know you really want to sleep, but because I know that I'm not going to sleep tonight, can we just discuss this? And you can either be really specific and put a timer on it, so you can have your iPhone with the stopwatch, or you can say in your mind that you know you're not going to keep going on and on and on about it. You're going to discuss it in a succinct, clear way, and you might even say we can pick it up tomorrow. You know, but it's about being realistic. What do you need to achieve? If you need to achieve something from the communication, don't have communication where you know your partner isn't going to engage, or where they're not listening. Another thing with timing is don't try to have conversations with people when they're in the middle of doing something that they enjoy. This is very much something I don't get. If someone is sat there watching football and they've waited all day to watch the game, or they're on their video games, or they're outside doing the garden, or they're in their shed and they've said, I want to spend a bit of time in the shed doing whatever, or I'm talking about all men's activities here, or the woman could be getting her nails done, or it could, whatever someone is doing, do not interrupt their activity to communicate, especially about something serious, or even just to mess about, and just because you're bored. I'm bored and he's playing on his game and you're ignoring me, and let's just mess it up a bit. They might switch off the game and try and give you a bit of attention, but they're not going to welcome it, and it's going to make that person feel like you're not giving them their space, you're not allowing them to have their time, you're ruining their enjoyment, and that's not really what you want in a relationship, because they might go along with what you want just to keep you happy in the moment, but when they go to bed at night, they're probably going to be thinking, I missed the game because she was bothering me, or tomorrow I've got to go out now and do the garden because she came and interrupted me and brought me in the house to talk about something. So think about that bigger picture. Is it worth it? Think about timing. As I've said earlier, tone of voice and body language is key. Consider your body language and your tone. It's very, very important. If I lower my voice now and I say, I would like to speak to you about something, you don't have to say it in that way because it's your partner. Babe, can I speak to you about something? Or, babe, there's something I want to talk to you about. Or, right, we need to talk. Do you see the difference between those two things? I need to talk to you now. Or, when are you free? When we need to talk about this. Straight away, you're already putting that person on the defensive. So consider your tone of voice, not just when you're asking them to speak, but during the conversation. Body language, be open. If it means you have to lean back and sit down, if it means no crossed arms, and all of this gestures which are not sort of going down well, arm gestures, facial expressions, rolling your eyes, all of these things your partner will pick up on. Now, you might be angry. It's not saying you have to be happy about what you're talking about, but just consider, but as I said, what do you want the end result to be? If you want a good result and a good outcome, consider your body language, tone of voice. Number 4, this is something that can affect your communication, the need to be right at all costs. Now, all I'll say to people on this one is, sometimes we need to be right, and we're all human beings, so maybe that's what we want, but is it worth the cost of your relationship? So maybe sometimes you can think to yourself, what's more important? Is it important that we win as a couple? Is it important that next time we have this conversation that it's going to be open, it's on the table because we've talked about it before? Or is it more important that I'm right and that my partner has to yield to what I want them to do? You just think about that and then decide. There's sometimes some battles are not worth losing just so that you can get your own way, or just so you can get someone to say that you're right. You have to think really about what is it that you are wanting to achieve. And the final one is going into the conversation with the wrong intentions. So without thinking about what you want the outcome to be. I just want to talk. Why? Because I just want to talk now. What do you want to talk about? I want to talk about what you did last week. Okay, and what do you want me to do about it? I don't know. So I'm just giving you an example of some typical conversations where the person hasn't thought it through. They haven't thought about what they want the outcome to be. They haven't thought about, they're wanting the other person to come up with the conclusion or the answer, but the other person doesn't know what you want. Always have an outcome in mind, especially when you're talking to someone, if it's something you've talked about before in the relationship, because you can't just keep having the same conversation with your partner about something, but you're never satisfied with what the answer is, or you're never happy with once there's no closure. The relationships will end if someone continuously talks about the same thing and there doesn't seem to be any closure. The door is never shut on this conversation. Who wants to be in a relationship with someone where in 6 months' time you're going to have the same conversation, then everything's fine, then in another year you're going to talk about it again, then things are fine for a little bit, then in 3 years' time you're going to bring up the same. There's no closure, and the person's going to start to think, well, if we can't move past this and we can't live in the present, then why are we going to be here just talking about the same thing again? So they're the 5 things I think that can affect communication in your relationship. If you found this video useful, please feel free to share. Also give it a like, leave some comments and subscribe to my channel if you found this video useful. There's other videos. What I'll try and do is probably link some of my other videos which are related to this topic in the comment section or in the description. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.